which is both very not ideal. But another area though where Washington now is stepping into, I guess, uncharted territories, also its relationship with the Federal Reserve. Now, I tend to like Ron Paul and those who argue for banning the Fed essentially, but it now seems that Trump has. Sorry.
One of the few senators willing to speak out against Trump is Ron Paul's son, Rand. Right? That you could count them on one hand. Anybody in the Republican Party that's got any courage.
But what is happening now to the, I guess, the independence of the Federal Reserve? Because we've seen Trump, he asked for the firing of the Federal Reserve Governor, Lisa Cook. But overall, there's this argument that there's a hijacking of the Federal Reserve. How are you assessing this information?
Yeah, well, first of all, I've always talked about Fed independence being more of a pretense anyway. I think that the Fed has not acted independently in the past and has been way too cooperative and complicit in enabling excess government spending, particularly deficit spending. So I think the independence has been more in name only. But at least, there's a pretense there. And to some degree, the Fed has a limited independence, not as much as it should, but at least there's something there. But what Trump is doing is tearing apart even that pretense. Look, it certainly looks like Cook technically committed mortgage fraud by listing her second home as a primary residence. I mean, it is something that is widespread in this country. Millions and millions of people have done it. Not that I'm justifying it, just because so many people have done it. But it is not like a major mortgage fraud. It's something that, if it's discovered, is rarely, if ever, prosecuted, that somebody did that. I mean, maybe the bank would say, hey, you got to pay back the mortgage, or something like that. But I don't even think they could probably find an incident where there's somebody who went to jail for doing this. Once upon a time in America, we had something called liar's loans. And the reason they called it a liar's loan is because everybody knew that the applicants were lying. And so they looked the other way. These were mortgages. So if they actually have a liar's loan where you're allowed to lie by definition, it's the same thing. So look, I don't even know. Maybe she has an explanation for this, but